Hi crafty friends, this is Bibi and today we are going to be making these super cute cards that are good for any occasion. And to start we are going to be using Neenah Solar Crest 110 pounds. And we are going to grab this tiny mini floral die that coordinates with embossing folder that I'm going to show you in a minute. And we are going to cut some flowers with that die. The next step is to grab the embossing folder, put it flat on the work surface and place the die cuts over the raised areas of the embossing folder. Carefully we are going to close the embossing folder. We are going to hold that in place, making sure that the paper doesn't move, and we are going to place it over the die cutting machine. Now to emboss this we are going to use an A4 sheet of cardstock and we are going to fold it in half. And I'm going to place it over the embossing folder, and then I'm going to use a metal shim to run this through the machine just like I'm doing there. And voila, this is done. This is all the embossing, that's all the steps. And if you want to minimize the movement of the paper inside the embossing folder, you can also place the embossing folder on your die cutting machine and then just have the sandwich ready to run this really fast on the machine. Before moving forward, I want to show you how the whole embossed panel will look if you want to go for that look. And you can apply many different coloring techniques to get something like this, or well, the look and feels and the possibilities are endless. Today I'm going to be using positively saturated inks to add colors, and this here is a gel press, so I can place my die cuts over that and they are not going to move. I'm also going to be using Simon Says Stamp small brushes. All the supplies are listed in the video description. So I start by applying a little bit of this yellow ink in the center of the flower. I'm also using a detail brush. Then I'm going to apply a little bit of the mandarin ink, and because I don't want to go so heavy on the color, I'm applying the first generation of ink on the plate, and then I go over the cardstock. Then I'm going to add blue ink on the edges of the flowers, and please pay attention that I'm not adding ink in the center of the flower. I'm trying to leave a white area there. Then I'm blending in purple ink, and because the brush is loaded with that ink, I'm getting a very intense color. Then I add green color to the stem and the leaves of the flowers. And if you want to go for a softer look, you can apply just the ink you have on the brush already, or you can also apply ink to the brush and then rub the brush against your work surface to get a more smooth blend. So the sky's the limit. You are the boss. You know how much ink you want on the paper, so you can apply more and more if you want. But please bear in mind Bibi's rule number 1. Do not cover the whole thing with ink. Try to leave a lighter area or a white area in the center of that die cut so that you will achieve a better or nicer result. And another thing I want to show you here is that you can use the same ink colors. If you see there, I have the same ink colors, but if you blend them in different ways, you can also achieve different results. For the pinky flowers that I'm going to show you in a moment, I use exactly the same ink colors, but I just mixed also a little bit of a pink color or an ink that is called Sweets, and it completely changed the whole look and feel of these flowers. I cleaned my gel press or my jelly plate with water and a towel, as you can see there. And one of the reasons I start using a gel press to do this is because the plate doesn't get inky or stained, and it's very easy to clean, as you saw there. So it's very convenient. There are a variety of sticky mats that you can use, also a variety of prices. So I'm going to add in the blog post a link to sticky mats, so please visit the post and have a look there. Also pictures of these projects and all the information that I'm not adding here because there is no time or space to do that. So if you see there, I added a layer or a very soft layer of blue ink, and then I'm adding Sweets that is like a fuchsia color around the edges of the petals. And then I'm using yellow here in the center and also on the stems of the flowers, because when I add green ink over this, then the green ink is going to look a lot lighter, and it also adds a cool effect to that die cut. So that's a way to use the same ink colors and just completely change the look and feel of the flowers by mixing them in different ways or adding a new shade. And I like to do this also because that ink blending enhances all the details of the embossed image. To add a little bit more of drama, I decided to use iris at the edges of the petals as well. And this is a very repetitive process, and I don't want to overwhelm you doing the same over and over, but in other videos I skip completely this part and I go tail off. People say, how did you make that? Why you are not showing me this? So there you go. That's how you make a bunch of these little flowers. Now we are going to need a base or a circle base to make the wreath. So I die cut these circle frames and I'm going to add inks over them. Just randomly, I add different ink colors. So I add this green ink that is the same green that I added to the stems of the flowers. And then I also blend in some yellow ink to lighten up the color. So that's all I did for that. And then I'm going to assemble the wreaths. So this is like if you were making a real wreath. So all you have to do is to lay the die cuts in a way that makes sense to you. I'm going to try to create a circular shape with these flowers. And because the paper bends, you can also manipulate the paper and do what you want with that paper. And I was thinking in adding some foliage here or some fillers. So you will see that one of the wreaths has lots of them. But at the very end, I removed those fillers because it was too much. The flowers alone were enough. And to add a little bit of texture and interest, I also splattered this using Spellbinders Splatter White. This is an opaque medium that you need to mix with a little bit of water. And I use a brush to mix that and to lift that paint from my surface or wherever I'm mixing it. And then I tap the brush with an object. It could be any object. And then I get a mist of that paint over the die cuts. That's the way I do splatters for everything. So this is what it works for me. And once this is done, I then die cut a panel and I just place the wreath over it to see where I can stamp the sentiment. So that's what I'm doing here, using the Misty and also using Versa Fine Clear ink. And I also find very helpful to use this sticky mat in the Misty because it holds the paper so it doesn't move when stamping, and it also keeps the paper flat. So I'm going to stamp the other panel as well. And I'm going to stick the wreaths over the panels using foam adhesives. This also adds a little bit of dimension. So that's one of the panels, and now I'm going to work in the other one. And after doing this, I thought that it was a good idea to add some sparkle, and I'm adding here a little bit of glue over the areas I'm going to be sticking some of these dazzling gems by Simon Says Stamp. And I helped myself to lift the gems from the mat using this tool here, and all these supplies are listed in the video description. And in the video description you will find also a link that has thumbnails, so you will be able to see the picture of the product and the link to the shop, so you can easily find the products I'm using. So I hope that helps, and when you buy through those links I get a small commission and no extra cost to you, and that's the way I can keep making videos for you. Now coming back to this card, I also decided to add the tiny of those gems in the center of the flower for extra sparkle. You will find that by adding a simple detail like this can take your cards to another level. So as you see there, this is a very simple composition and it requires minimum techniques or work to do it. Of course you are going to need time, and that's what this hobby is about spending time in something positive, learning a new skill, and perhaps this is the kind of cards that you can make and sell. So that step is done, and now I'm going to grab the other panel, and for that one I'm going to use these embellishments. These are flat sequins, they don't have the hole in the center, so they also add sparkle and they are quite cute. And again, those are also listed in the video description. If you notice, I'm using embellishments that are similar in color to the inks I have used, But if you want, you can also use gold embellishments that also work with everything. I just think that adding a little bit of a sparkle to your cards is an essential step. So you will see that in every single project I made, I use something to add a sparkle. It could be gold paint, shimmer pens, nubo drops, and that kind of things. So when I finished these panels, I thought that I could just leave them like that, but I have in my mind little birds because I love to add that kind of images to my projects. I decided to take that some off camera, and I'm going to bring them here, and I use exactly the same colors that I use for the flowers. So you can see that the head is yellow and orange, the belly is blue, the back is purple, and the wings are green. I also added a black nubo drop in the eye, and I colored the beak in black, and I also added black dots here and there. In another video, I show how to assemble the little birds, and I made a similar project, so I'm going to be linking that video in the video description. So that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Do not forget to subscribe to my channel or visit my blog for more ideas and inspiration. Thank you very much for watching, and happy crafting. Bye!